Well, gentlemen, thank you for coming in today and participating. This is a topic that a lot of folks aren't all that excited about talking about, and yet a lot of people will experience. So, first of all, if you'd let us know who you are, who you're caring for, and if you know what kind or type of dementia they might have. And I'll start over here.
I'm Tony Price. I'm caring for my wife, and she has had Parkinson's and Alzheimer's
Parkinson's
diagnosis.
and
And we currently live in a senior community, and she is in a long-term memory care facility of that community.
Alzheimer's. Thanks, Tony.
Okay. My name is Lee Barnes, and I'm caring for my wife, Joy. The neuropsychologist final diagnosis was severe dementia. I never heard the word severe in conjunction with her dementia designation before we met with him, but it was in writing in the report that he finally did. But we live at home, and we're managing.
Okay. Okay, we'll talk more because that's a interesting identifier. So thank you. And we'll
Okay.
see if we can figure out, talk a little bit more about that.
All right.
All right.
I'm Dave Biggs. I live in Yorktown. I'm helping my wife Tony, and she was diagnosed about 4 years ago with moderate memory loss and suspected early onset Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's. Okay.
She's now advanced to the moderate stage.
Okay.
She's still herself, and she's doing most everything, except she's lamenting her inability to drive anymore.
It's a hot topic.
Yeah, she's always been very independent and actually a caregiver. She cared for her parents for 11 years. They
Okay,
were both legally
wow.
blind. And
Okay. Cool. So, talking about how you got this identifier of, for you, Parkinson's plus Alzheimer's, severe dementia, and young onset Alzheimer's disease for your wife, what were your first indicators? What are the things you noticed before this that led you to go, or the person to go, something's up? What were your first indicators, would you say,
The
Tony?
first indication was 5 or 6 years ago. She developed a little tremor in her right hand.
In a tremor in her right.
And she went to our general practitioner, and she had her annual
At
physical.
her request or your request?
Well, it
or-
was her annual physical.
It was just an annual. Oh, okay.
And
okay.
when she came out, I asked her, "What did he say about your tremor?" And he said, "Not to worry about it. It's age." That
Just
was there.
a benign tremor,
Benign
nothing to
tremor.
worry
It was
about
just
4
her-
years ago.
her one
Okay.
hand. And that was the first time that we started to worry about it because it had been in her family.
Oh, so she had Parkinson's in her family,
Well, she had, they didn't call it Parkinson's then.
but
They
movement
had dementia
problems.
and movement problems.
Oh, dementia as well. Okay. What were some of the next symptoms that came up for her?
It was just her memory.
New things or
we've
all
been-
things or?
Well, small things, really. They weren't large. They were small. We've been married for over 65 years. And my favorite expression to our children was, "I don't know, ask your mother." And if you wanted to know an address, you wanted to know who
She was a high
what,
detail lady.
She knew,
She knew all the
She knew
details.
it, and she stopped being able to do that. And she would start in her books and look in her books and write addresses and names and birthdays down. She couldn't remember birthdays.
So it wasn't just new stuff she couldn't hold on to. She was having trouble holding on to familiar things
Familiar
like
things.
birthdays of people and
Yes,
places.
yes.
Okay. And then did movement continue to be an issue for her? Or?
Yes, well, her movement and her lack of ability for even in short-term memory too. Like she wouldn't remember that her daughter was there the day before to see her.
Okay.
And we stopped driving. We took her, didn't take it, but she realized that there was no
She
problem
didn't feel
with
safe
it.
driving.
We got her an ID card instead of a driver's license because
Okay.
she thought it was safe.
Okay.
And we lived like that as it progressed for the next 4 years or so.
Mostly movement changes or cognitive changes or a combo?
Her Parkinson's didn't, it developed into as she walked, she would stop. Her gait would
She would get
stop,
caught
and she
in
fell several times.
multiple falls.
Multiple
How was her
falls.
sleep pattern during that time?
Her sleep pattern wasn't
Was fine.
was fine. Wasn't a problem.
And her thinking skills were still okay, no problems with
Her
thinking?
cognitive response, she could make quick decisions. I started to doing the cooking because she would forget small things, and she would
Okay.
ask where this was
Okay.
and that was. And I said, well, maybe I ought to do the cooking.
Okay.
And so I took that over several years ago. And
Did you go back to the general practice doc, or did you switch out and go
we
to,
went to a neurologist
you went to a neurologist with did you do,
before she was diagnosed with it, but just to make sure, we went to a neurologist. And I can still, it's in my memory. The neurologist looked at me, the lady looked at me and said, your wife has Parkinson's.
was your wife there?
Yes. And how do you feel about it? She asked me how I felt about it, but yes, Verlene was there. But Verlene has been very cognizant of her problem, but she didn't know that was the first time that term was used. Your wife has Parkinson's.
So the doctor talked to you and not to Verlene, although
She was
Verlene was
looking-
in the room.
Yes, she was, but she was actually looking over Verlene's shoulder
Uh-huh.
at me and said, how do you feel?
How did you feel about that?
It really, that wasn't impactful to me at the time.
The Parkinson's is what hit you in that
Yeah,
moment.
At that moment, and
Looking
I was
back.
unaware of all the
Yeah.
that
What does that
Parkinson's.
mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
And I'm finding out that it can mean a myriad of things.
Right. That
Doesn't-
happened
And
afterward.
not
Yeah.
everyone that has Parkinson's
the
is
same at
this
all.
or that.
Yeah.
So,
So now that you're looking back at it, would you have wanted that to be different? Do you think that could or should have been different as far as how that was shared with you and your wife?
no, the neurologist it was a very lengthy
Yeah.
session that she had with her, and before that, Verlene knew she had a problem,
Mm-hmm.
and we had talked about it, and we had taken her license away, and I had started
So
doing
there had been a
things and
lot of things already
growing-
shifting by the
growing
time you got in there.
Got in there.
Anything about, do you wish that could have happened earlier, that the identification of what was happening, or does it feel like it was it was fine, it was just how it should have gone?
In my case, it was planning. I was able to plan for the future because I did know about, and I had those thoughts when I saw
When you
her
saw the tremor, you were already thinking that.
And I was thinking that, and knowing her history of her mother that she
So-
had, and
So you did that on your own?
I did that on her own, and I started doing long-term planning.
Okay, so you made that choice. Lee, how about you? How about your discovery and how that went for you all?
Okay. Memory issues continuously. Short-term memory.
Old memory still okay, or
Most of it, and that is what amazes me. The things that she'll come up with. We used to live in this area, and I was saying, we lived on that corner. And I said, I know the street that we faced, but I'm trying to remember the side street.
Mhm.
And actually, she couldn't remember that one either. But
Mhm.
most of the time, she would come up,
She can come
with
up with
that.
the old stuff, the older detailed things. Still
but not
pop
all the
up.
time.
Not always, but you said yourself you don't always get it. Just saying.
Well, maybe it's catching. I don't know.
Not that we know about.
In the presence of the neurologist, one thing that talking about older memories.
How did you get her to the neurologist?
Well, through Riverside.
Did you say we need to go get this checked out? It seems like you're having some issues with memory, or did you say, I just want us to go to the doctor and see how things are
No,
going?
I guess overlaid it as part of the process.
Okay.
We're working with Riverside. Riverside made this recommendation,
Okay.
and it's a long drive, but we need to go up to Midlothian and meet with this doctor.
Okay.
The good news was she got along well with him. I liked him. and that helped a lot.
And that made a difference.
Mhm.
Okay.
One question he asked, and I'll never forget this. We have one son, and one of the questions he asked was, when was he born? She didn't know.
Mm. Ouch.
And I just couldn't believe it.
That was the whoa difference for you. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was just another thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with that one goes back, and it was, of course, an event that everybody remembers.
Surely. Yeah.
And
Not
no,
not even the date, not
Right.
the, not the year, but at least the date of
Right.
when it happened.
Right.
When you got the information, severe dementia, was that for you and your wife or you solo? How did you get that data?
that's a good question and interesting because of where we live and where the doctor's office
Mhm.
was. And I complained about the distance, and
Mhm.
they said, you can either go now or get another appointment. It'll be a year from now.
Oh my.
So we chose to go. I chose to go then. And as far well, we met with him face to face in his office. Then she had her one-on-one time with him while I went out and read a magazine. And then we were supposed to get the diagnosis, the results. And he said, because of the distance, he says, it's your call. You can either come back and pay the tolls and go through all, or we can do it with a Zoom. And I'd done that in an organization that I'm affiliated with. And so I was familiar with that. And she said she didn't care. So we did the Zoom. I opted to do the Zoom, and it was fine. He sent us the report, the 5-page report, ahead of time, physical. I'm sitting there, and Joy will not admit or recognize that she has the problem. And even in that report, it addressed that and said that's not unusual.
Yeah, it's part of the condition she has.
But there were some medical terms that I needed clarification on. And we went through the report, 5 pages, both of us sitting there. And it was pretty smooth.
Mhm.
And, she shrugged her shoulders when it was over, and that was it.
What was your emotional reaction?
Well, that word that I mentioned earlier was something that I hadn't seen before, and that still concerns me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't seem to fit.
It's an interesting word, yeah, for a person you're describing to me. So I would wonder about the word as well. It's like, that's not the person I hear you describing.
Right.
She is able to help dress herself, able to.
Yes, and
But she
it'll
can-
take a while.
Right.
In fact, she and I talked about her coming here today, and I said, "That's great." I said, because of where I said I have to leave at 7:30,
Mm.
and the drill when we go to church on Sunday, the drill is she picks out 3 different outfits, the same 3 every Sunday,
Mhm.
and she puts 3 different outfits on, and usually ends up with the first one.
Mhm. But she has to try them
what-
all out.
So I told her yesterday, I said,
Gotta leave.
it's great for you to go. I'm leaving at 7:30. And I said, you know the drill that you go
Yeah.
through. So she decided she
She
wouldn't.
wasn't going to come. Okay. Reasonable choice. I'm going to switch over here. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your process of getting your condition identified.
Well,
You started it, she started it.
well, she made a comment one time that she had a thought, and she was crossing in her living room, and by the time she got to the other side, she forgot what it was. And I thought, well, I know I've done that many times. That sounds pretty common,
Yep.
even when I was younger.
Yep.
Your mind gets occupied, and boom, it's gone.
What was I
But
going to do?
A short time later, we were out at our favorite Italian restaurant when we were living up in Mechanicsville. We went to one in Short Pump, and we have a favorite waiter that we usually get, and he came over. He talked about a new car he got because he got involved in an accident and everything. We had about a 3 to 5 minute conversation, and then he went on to place the order and everything, and she did not recall that at all.
Ouch.
Yes.
Yeah, that was an ouch.
So then we made contact with her daughter, who's a nurse, works at a local hospital within 5 minutes of our house, and said, "Who should we go to? We need to see somebody." So she put us on to a neurologist. We then went to the neurologist, had a meeting with him, and then he lined up some things. I had a brain scan and a psychological test, and then a follow-up appointment, and everything sounded pretty okay through the psychologist, he said. But then when we got to the nurse practitioner that we were assigned, she kept talking about things that sounded much like my perception of Alzheimer's, that it might be something very serious, but she never came out and said it.
Ooh.
So having worked in the healthcare industry, and I said, well, we went on the patient portal and got the progress notes. And it
So
said early onset.
behind the scenes, information was being put into the system.
Right. But she didn't come out and really say it. And she didn't understand it that way, so I explained it to her. So then we had to make some decisions because we were in Mechanicsville there.
Okay.
So we were near our youngest daughter. And so I said, maybe it'd be smart to come back home. I've got two children and four of our 5 adult grandchildren here.
In this area.
For some support should I need it.
Right.
So then we finally found a place and moved back here to Yorktown. And through our neurologist, we found out about the Memory Cafe that Riverside sponsored, and then the caregivers group, and I've tried to get
so you
involved.
really got hooked into the support systems that are
Absolutely.
here.
Actually, for the Memory Cafe, I went first time myself to make
Just
sure
to
it'd be
check it
something
out.
that
Is this
she would
something that-
enjoy, and she thoroughly enjoys it.
Great.
She's a very social person, very. I mean, if you got breath and movement, she will talk to it.
Yeah, yeah. So now you made me curious. Your wives, very social, very connected, or more private, quiet, not so much?
Well, she was.
She was very
She
social.
was, but she isn't now because
No.
she lives in the memory care facility.
Got it. Was there a period of time in transition where she went very social, but not
It
necessarily?
slowly tracked off. She belonged to several church organizations, and she chaired several organizations. And slowly she said, "I can't do that. I don't want to do that." And it
So
it backed up. She backed off from them.
she was really sort of figuring out, I don't like this anymore because I don't know what I'm doing and I don't want to be incompetent, so I'd rather not do than do.
Yes.
More related to the Parkinson's side of it or the cognitive side of it, do you
I
think?
think that was more related to the cognitive
side.
side of it,
Okay.
because she was able to walk and function, except
Pretty well,
for that
yeah.
gait.
The falls and the
fall
gait. Yeah.
would do
Yeah,
it.
that's
but-
concerning. I'm sure for everybody.
And she got to a point that you were talking about dressing. She could not do that herself. And,
More related
had to
to
have help.
cognition or physical again?
well, she would lay everything out on the bed. I mean, take her whole closet and put
And
it out on the
everything would
bed.
go out onto the bed.
Go on the
and
bed.
Not do
She'd
things
never
with it.
done anything like that,
Right,
and
so
to
that
look
was
for
new.
something to wear.
Gotcha.
And then
Yeah.
it was, she would make her decisions in that matter. Everything has to be out
Everything
there.
has to be out. Lee?
Very social,
Uh-huh.
over the top.
Over the top. Lots of reaching out and coming up to people and getting really physical with them?
Not
or-
so much. He was a joiner
Uh-huh.
and a participator, and
Still or not so much?
no, not at all.
Not at all. So a
The-
real
the-
turnabout for
The
her.
social interaction that she has, I shouldn't say this, but I'll say it anyway. I kind of prompt her.
Uh-huh.
She is a member of a book club. I know when they meet. I talk to the lady who kind of organizes it and find out what the book is. Even though my wife has gotten the email telling her what the book is and when they're supposed to meet and whose house, she's not interested. I go to the library, I get the book. Sometimes she gets halfway through it.
Okay.
And she'll go
If you prompt her, but
yes.
nothing. Have you tried the Memory Cafe? Anything along that line that
I haven't,
you haven't?
but I
Okay.
want to
Yeah.
for her.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and I want to see what it's like.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you went by yourself the first time and then took
Oh.
her. Wonder about the idea of doing that idea
Mm-hmm.
first as a way of finding out whether you think maybe it would be something she might enjoy. She still has language. She can still have a conversation. May not hold on to it, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It make me even more curious about this severe dementia, because every designation I know, that is not an indicator of a severe dementia.
Well, what we
So,
received from
mhm.
Riverside when we went there the first
Uh-huh.
time,
Yeah.
um, Dr. Meehan said that I think her term was moderate dementia.
Mhm.
And even that kind of caught me by, if she said early
Early signs
signs of
of a
dementia,
dementia, and
I
it
would have
looks like this.
agreed
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
I was surprised at
Yeah.
when she said moderate.
Yeah.
So,
Then severe was even more. So as you got your identifiers of what type of dementia that you all were dealing with, except you still don't have an identifier of what form or type of dementia it is, or did you yet?
no,
No,
nothing
you
other
just
than
don't
that.
know. All you've had is moderate dementia, severe dementia. You all know a little more. Has it impacted how you give care? Have you noticed any change in yourself knowing more about Alzheimer's and knowing more about Parkinson's? Has it impacted how you do what you do? Or even if you've read about severe dementia, has it impacted for you, any of you?
Well, it has impacted me from the aspect of conversations with her.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Several years ago, I would say, I'm going to let you do that, and you're going to find out what's going to happen.
Ah,
She's not going to learn that.
no.
You
Okay.
learn that. I don't, she asked, let's go see mom and dad. I don't say they're up in heaven with my mom and dad. I said that once.
Yeah. How'd that go for you?
She cried.
Oh, because she was newly grieving a loss. And you
Yes.
figured out, okay, that doesn't help.
No. So now I say things like, well, we'll have to check tomorrow because they're not home.
Okay.
And 5 minutes later, she won't remember that she
Okay,
asked
so you
for
give
it.
her a truth, but a partial
The
truth,
truth,
not the whole truth. I
not the
mean,
whole
but they
truth,
aren't
no.
home, actually. They aren't at that house, haven't been for a long time.
No.
And we'll check tomorrow.
Yeah.
And by then, it's not an issue for folks.
No.
Okay.
No. It will go away very quickly.
How did it feel to do that transition for yourself?
Well, I felt bad because I told her the truth.
Oh, so,
Because I suffered with her a
Ouch.
little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you said this or someone said it, but the love that you had and the joy that gave you for those many years in front can also hurt later on. And I think that's what happened.
Yeah,
It hurt.
it hurt. And so you decided, I'm not going to do that anymore.
No,
It's not worth it.
No,
you
it
know,
hurt
don't have
her
to.
and me
And
too.
you, because both of you got hurt in that
And so
interaction.
now our conversations are, I listen to her and she will talk about things that don't exist, never existed. And I will, if she smiles, I'll smile. And if she frowns, I frown. And our look, she questions
So you're using
it.
a lot
I
of
just
visual
use her,
cueing.
her expressions and to respond to her.
Yeah, cool. Lee, how about you? Have you noticed that now that you know it's a dementia, your expectations and interactions have changed? Your role is shifting, or is it you're still sort of trying to find your
It's
space?
still in process.
It's in process.
And
Okay.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
I have to. But yeah, the way I phrase questions and knowing when I ask her, do you remember? I have to keep slapping my face. Don't ask
You know
her.
better.
'Cause
You know better, but
don't ask her
yeah.
because she remember because I know she
She
doesn't.
doesn't.
9 times out of 10. Sometimes she'll say she does, and I know that she doesn't really.
It's just cover. Yeah. Yeah.
And when I see her reading a book, when I get in the bed at night and she's reading a book, and she says, I'm just about finished with this one. And then the next night she's got the same book out and she's on page 1. And I've commented on that, and
Does it help?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, not
But you're
this.
observing it. What's your emotional inside yourself? Are you grieving, or what do you
Yeah,
think it is? Are
I
you?
think the grieving. I really feel sorry for the whole situation.
Mhm.
And before this happened, if anybody would have said, "Do you think in your later life that you'll have the?" I thought I would be the
You
one
would be the one that would
because
have.
my mother had
Ah,
a problem, and
s-
she does not have anybody except for a grandmother. She
mm,
mentioned a grandmother.
mm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like spontaneous dementia rather than a familial type dementia. Yeah. So you're still in process of getting your feet under you and figuring out how you're going to move forward, and emotionally still in a place of fairly high distress, just dealing with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I try to keep that stress as low as
You need
I
to.
can.
Yeah.
I mean, as we all talked
Right.
before we
Yeah.
sat down, every day is a new day.
Every day is a new day. Every hour is a new hour.
And some of the stories are just, and she did have a fall
Mm-hmm.
on the 29th of December.
Mm-hmm.
We were at a holiday party,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody was getting ready to leave. There was almost 30 people there. She stood up, and I was talking to another group of guys.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see this happen. Went straight down on her back, hit her head. We're in the emergency room for 5 hours. Um, and that
That shook
was
you up.
scary.
That shook you up. Yeah.
That shook
Because
me
it
up.
really came out of nowhere. I mean, that wasn't anticipated.
Somebody screamed, "Joy's on the floor," and I turned around. Her head was on the hearth of the
Ooh.
fireplace.
Yeah. That's a scary moment for sure.
Very much.
Terrifying. Yeah. Yeah. Over on this side of the room. So, knowing what she has,
Yes.
younger onset, has
Well,
it modified how you do what you do?
well, yeah, her short-term memory is just about, hmm, it's
Yep.
just about totally gone, but
Uh-huh.
her long-term memory is great. So
Uh-huh.
I'm a little more involved in the grocery shopping
Okay.
and what we need and
You've
what we
taken
don't
over
need.
more jobs and
Yeah, of
sort of
course,
she
she
still
calls.
comes and
Oh,
goes?
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
she comes with me
Okay,
everywhere
cool.
we go. We're
Partners.
hooked at the hip.
Hooked at the hip.
I'm telling
Okay, now
you.
I'm going to pause you because now here's my curiosity. If you found a third person to be a hip so that she can hook to that hip and you get a break.
Oh yeah, I've got my oldest daughter.
So you've got
She
the
actually
family
cut her
involved. You got the
working
kids
hours
involved.
back to 3 days a week, so she
Ah.
could spend more time with the mom.
Is that a commitment that she made or you asked for?
She made it on her
She
own.
chose that.
Plus, my older daughter we changed phones, which she's always had a hard time with that. And periodically she'll say, "I hate this phone. Give me my old phone back." But
But the
it
challenge
comes
was
and
she
goes. It
couldn't
comes and
actually use
goes.
the old phone a whole lot better
our
anyway.
youngest
but yeah,
daughter
yeah.
got this Life 360, so we're all hooked
Uh-huh.
together.
Good.
So we know where everything's at.
Cool. Yeah. So
And
technology was helpful for you all
Right.
to be able to keep up.
right.
So let me switch back out and come over here. Kids involvement. Any kid involvement over here?
Well, my daughter, who's 60 years old,
Well, sort of kid, but comparatively kid.
she lives in Mechanicsville, as
Okay.
mentioned, and she's down to see her mom almost once a week.
Once a week. And any other people involved in care, so you're not the only solo only.
No, well, in my case, she has the care from the facility.
From the memory care.
the memory
Before
care.
that, did you have people in the home? or
Yes,
in
I
your life?
had, Brookdale has the group that if you want people to come in and dress, she came in and dressed her and she would give her a shower.
So you didn't take on the role
I
of
didn't.
a hands-on intimate care caregiver.
Not an intimate caregiver.
Okay.
We've only been married 65 years. I
So,
didn't-
and that relationship is different than a caregiving for 60. You didn't dress her for 65 years.
No, I
so-
didn't.
Yeah, no. So that's sort of a different kind of
she
relationship.
dressed me a few times when I broke several things.
Oh, okay.
but,
So she did it, but you did never actually do
I
that.
never did that.
So
I
you're
just didn't want to
still-
feel if she felt embarrassed by me doing that.
Okay, so you're more of a husband, would you say, than her? But
prob-
you also support her care.
Oh yes, well I do. I mean, I do all the cooking and all the cleaning
Right.
and all those
All
other
those other
things and
things,
making
yeah.
the beds and
So you
doing
took
that
over a
for
lot
years.
of tasks, but
Tasks,
you
except
stayed more in that role as
yes,
opposed to intimate
as
care.
I didn't give her the shower,
You didn't do showers, you didn't do
showers
hair
and
care,
hair
you didn't go to
care,
the
or
bathroom
no,
kind of
or
thing. Lee, you're not there yet, I'm thinking, or are you?
No.
No. Have you thought about what you might do in relationship to that as it develops? If she does need that kind of support, where you would stand on that, and do you have kids or?
I think about it when she gets upset with me about something. She says,
Mhm,
"Well, I know you just want to put me in one of those places,"
mhm,
and I said, that is not my intention.
mhm,
It's not where my thoughts are. And
mhm,
as far as I'm concerned, we are together
mhm.
as long as we can. And I don't say as long as we can be, but
Right.
that's my plan.
That's your plan.
Yeah.
How about that physical support? Is that something you've thought about alternatives, or your thought is, I will do that if it's needed? If she were to need help to go to the bathroom or to change her clothes or to take a shower, are you thinking, I will take on that responsibility, or I'll bring someone in that she's comfortable, we'll work on her getting comfortable with,
Probably bring somebody
bring
in.
somebody in?
We're not there.
Uh-huh.
We're not even close to being there,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned.
As far as you know, and as far as
Yeah.
you're aware,
Yeah.
she gets dressed, she cleans herself up, she doesn't smell bad, nothing like
Right.
that. So
Right.
yeah, yeah. So you're
But
thinking support in
I mean,
place.
as far as, the future, I will do what is necessary.
You'll do what you need to do, but also what works for her.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Now I'm back over.
Okay.
Both sides, are you both an intimate care supporter, or you decided there's a boundary, I'm not going to cross the boundary, I'm going to get support instead?
I can't think of a boundary that I
Okay.
would not allow, somebody else to come in. But if it does come up, I'll probably ask my daughter to come in or whatever.
Have family be part of that.
Right.
And that's part of your routine and your pattern and
Yes.
your community and your family.
Right.
That's part. Okay. So if you look at how things have gone so far and you think about how things might go, you've made a choice to move into more support care because of the choices you made earlier on. You're in a community that offers it. Um, you're doing home.
Mhm.
You're doing home.
Hmm.
Um, if you were to start deciding, I think I need to do something, who all would you involve in that decision making? Just yourselves, your wife? How would you do that?
I would involve my kids.
Your kids, because your
Yeah,
kids are
I've got two
really
of them in
there.
healthcare, so
Ah,
and
okay.
and having worked in the healthcare career field, though I wasn't actually doing healthcare, I know doctors pretty well. It's scary sometimes, but anyway, you have to be your own advocate and be very
Yeah.
your own advocate.
Yep.
Yeah, I would get
Yeah.
them involved in decision making because
Would the decisions that you make be based on, I've got to keep somebody safe, or I have somebody who's a risk taker and I need to allow them to take some risks because that's just who they are?
well, I want the best for her. Period.
So what does that mean?
I
Risk
want-
taking or being really safe?
No, I want to be really. She's very safe. She's worried more about me than herself.
Okay.
But she's very cautious because she has
Okay.
a lot of orthopedic issues,
Ah, okay.
and so I don't want to change that. I want
Okay.
it to be as safe for her as possible.
Okay. So safety. Risk taker or a safety seeker? Your wife.
From time to time, a risk taker,
Mhm.
although she doesn't perceive it that way at
Uh-huh.
all.
Uh-huh.
She's just,
She's taking
For
risks, but she
instance,
doesn't know she's
a
taking
more
risks.
recent instance. We have a bonus room over the garage,
Mhm.
a lot of cubby holes up there where all the Christmas things. I
Uh-huh.
said, I'll do whatever I can to help you to get all of
Mhm.
that put away. I said, you're not, I said, you're not going to carry that stuff up the stairs.
Oh,
And she
Lee.
didn't like that. She said, I've done this all forever. And I said, but you can't, I don't want you to do that. I said, I'll help
Hey,
you.
Lee, watch this. Is that
It
her?
wasn't quite, it was close.
I'm just saying.
But I think after a while, she appreciated the help.
Mhm.
And the thing that again jumped out at me was, she said, I know all of this came out of here, but I can't remember where it
How it
goes.
goes back in.
And it looked like the amount of stuff grew. And it didn't. We
I
didn't
know.
buy anything.
There was no new stuff.
It's
It's just,
all that stuff.
yeah.
And,
It became overwhelming a little bit.
but it worked out. And
Yeah, it did, but-
Everything is up there. Just
So did
about.
you learn anything from that experience? And I'm going to, how have y'all learned? What have been your learning moments where you go, well, I won't do that again if I can avoid it, because that did not go that well. Did you have any of those? Have you had any?
I probably have, but I don't remember one right offhand.
That moment of like, oh, well, I just put my foot in that. I don't want to do that again.
I think it's mainly in conversation. that
Yours
it
is when
was.
it's conversations and you
Conversation.
realize, uh-oh,
Oh,
here we
won't,
go. Oh,
we won't
man.
talk about that again, or I will talk about it in a different way.
Mhm.
But yeah, my wife was not a risk taker.
Okay.
Although in the past 2 or 3 years, she spent 3 or 4 times at Centera Emergency Clinic.
Mistakes get made.
Mistake, falling.
But she's
or-
not doing it as a risk-taking behavior.
No, she's
It's
just doing it
her
as a
skill
normal.
sets are sort of like not what they
function, not
were, and it
working.
surprises everybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that she's labeled as a high risk fall. She is in a wheelchair.
Uh-huh.
But I get her up from there and we walk and I hold her and she can walk around as long as somebody is there.
As
to
long as you
catch
do
her.
that. Yeah. And that actually keeps her more fit than if she stayed in the wheelchair,
Wheelchair, yes.
with the mobility issues there.
But she
Yeah.
is in a wheelchair. She used to use a walker, but then she couldn't remember
She
how to
doesn't
function
remember to
with
use the walker and
a
how to use
walker
the walker.
and how to use it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So anyone have one other comment or thought you want to make about the idea of transitions and how things shifted and changed for you and for your person, and where the hard spots were and where it was not that hard to make a switch, a change that you had to make? Anything that was super easy to let go of and shift out of, letting go of things, or has it been pretty hard?
I don't know that what I'm going to say fits what
Mhm.
you're looking for, but I'll try it and you can tell me to
Uh-huh.
stop. The hardest part for me initially was I knew something was wrong. I
Mhm.
felt like something was wrong.
Yep.
But I didn't know, I didn't want to offend her. I didn't know where to go with it. But I had a good friend, still a very good friend of mine. We've been friends since we're 9 years old. His wife had passed from Alzheimer's.
Mm.
And so I sat down with him for lunch one day and I said, how did you, identify this problem? I mean, how did you go about it with your doctor? I mean,
Mhm. How did you start all this
yeah.
and do it?
And he said, I wrote a letter to my GP. I wrote the letter with his advice.
You were
Yes.
writing a letter to the medical provider.
Yes. And I said, this is not only did I say these are the things that concern me, I gave specifics, instances of things that happened because I thought if I could zero in on some things, it would help him. And so the next time I didn't mail it. I handed it to him when I had my checkup and gave it to him. He read it while I was there. And he said, okay. He said, your wife has her annual physical or 6 month in about a month. And he says, I can do a more simplistic kind of a cognitive testing. And because I told him, I said, I want this to be confidential.
So I want to pause.
Okay.
So what you described, a lot of symptoms that were significant symptoms, and the response was, we'll wait 6 months for the annual physical and we'll do sort of a general screen. Is that accurate?
No. He said, she is due
Right.
a month from mine,
Oh, a month out.
a month
Okay.
out.
Okay. I
Yeah.
thought I heard 6 months. I'm
And I
sorry.
knew that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it kind of worked.
That made sense.
yeah.
Okay. I thought 6 months. Wow.
And he said, and I said, it's important to me and to her as well. Keep it confidential. And he said, I'll do that. I understand where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I made it a point that I drove her to that appointment.
Mm-hmm.
I sat in the car while she went to the appointment. I didn't go in with her.
Mm.
She comes out. She was in a great mood. And she was driving that day. And so we're going down the road. She says, everything was great. That was a great appointment. She said, guess what? He did something that was different. I said, what's that? He gave me this little test, and they have the numbers on the clock and all that. And she says, I said, really? And she said it was just because it was time to do that. That's the way he put it. You do these things, and when we think people may
Getting
need
older.
them.
Yeah.
And she said, guess what? I said, what? I got 100. I said, what?
Wait a minute.
You
How did
didn't.
you get 100?
The next time I saw the doctor, I said, I appreciate your spending the time. I said, she didn't really get, he said she got 100.
So you experienced the brain comes online to perform because I'm on stage
I
phenomena.
said, you gave her the wrong test.
And that's that surprise of like when the moment comes, the brain can pull all the chemicals it can together and demonstrate, look, I'm still me.
The thing was, when I had my next visit with him, I said, we have a problem. And he was the one that made the referral to
To the
Riverside.
neurologist.
To-
The
no, to
neuropsych.
Riverside.
Neurosci. Oh, okay. Over to Riverside.
Riverside and
Gotcha.
Williamsburg.
Okay. So you started the process then.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So here's a totally different question. What if something were to happen to you? You were to have a heart attack, you'd be in a car accident, something awful happened to you. What planning, if any, have you got in place for the support of your person should you be taken down for a while? It could be just something short term, but something. And my first question is, do you have something in your wallet that indicates a person in my life is living with dementia and they're at this address and here's the contact that you will want to make? Or no? That's the first one. Have you got something?
Yes, I do. I call it the Red Book.
Okay.
The kids know that anything happens to me, go to the Red Book. And it's a book about this thick. It has all of our living condition, all of our expenses, all of our accounts, and the durable power of attorneys for them.
Is there something in your wallet?
I have their names and phone number.
Does it say someone, my wife has dementia?
No,
Okay.
but it will this afternoon.
Has anyone ever mentioned that, wow, what if something happened to you? How would somebody know that, yes, they'd get up with them, but that there is someone in your life that might need extra support in that moment, not just to notify? So, because people
But
don't tend to
if-
talk about
if,
it.
My address on my driver's license, they know I live in a senior community.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
where it is. And but no, I do not have something specifically that says,
Yeah.
if I
Okay.
can't, here's what you do.
Yeah. It's just you've done such a great job with everything else. That one's like the emergency personnel.
And I keep changing that as things progress.
Good for
And
you.
all our
Wow.
bills and stuff are right there, just so that she'll
Wow.
be taken care of.
And that's something that you take as that's part of your job.
Yes, that's I feel one of my major jobs.
And that's a
because
skill you
in
have.
my family, on my side, we just go.
So you drop off the earth really quick.
Yeah, we just go.
So it's really, you've had a history there.
History of
Good,
that.
really smart. Oh,
But
super
her
job.
side of the family has been slower.
Yeah, less predictable.
Less predictable.
Yeah. Lee, what about you?
Yeah, I think about it all the time. I have
Mhm.
to because I'm it.
You're it. You don't have other
My
family.
son, my
You have a
son
son
is
out in California.
3,000 miles away
Yeah. Yeah.
and loves California.
Not going to do this. Yeah.
I feel like I have to do. If this has given me, this experience has given me anything, it's given me a purpose in life, and that is to take care of my wife.
Mhm.
And so then it makes me think, well, if I need to take good care of myself, and I do
Mhm.
physically. Um, and I've gone to an attorney,
Mhm.
and I've gotten a new will and trust and all of that done
Mhm.
fairly recently, within the last. Actually, it was in COVID. We didn't have anything else to
Gotcha.
do. Um, I got all of that taken care of. I had some investments with a couple of different companies. I got everything consolidated into one. So all of this
You've done a lot of this
is
heavy
movement
lifting. Yeah.
to make it simple.
Mhm.
And I communicate with my sister, and we're close. We're close from as a sister and brother are
Right.
concerned, but she's in South Carolina.
Ouch. Yeah.
So there's some distance there, but she knows the problem,
Mhm.
and
What do you have in your wallet?
nothing.
Mm.
And I know what you mean,
Yeah.
and I need to get to. The one thing that's been helpful to me that Riverside gave
Mhm.
me, um, it was I'll call it a calling card.
Mhm.
It has Riverside's logo on it, but
Mhm.
it says the person with me has memory issues
Companion
or something
card.
to that.
A companion card.
That has
Mhm.
been, when
Super
I
handy.
took her to the dentist the
Mhm.
first time that I had one of the, and I handed it to it's changed the whole way that they set up appointments, and nothing was ever said back
Yep.
to me.
Yep.
That has been
Really
perfect.
great resource.
I know
Really
what you're
great resource.
talking about,
Yeah.
and I don't have that, and I
Yeah.
need it.
And well, if emergency personnel were to go to the house because she's there and you're not,
Correct.
yeah, yeah, just sort of figuring those things out. Nobody talks about that stuff.
I've set up everything. We have a trust, we have
Mhm.
wills, we have durable power of
And
attorney,
you got the
we've got
daughters, you
the
got the
living
family.
will, the
Yeah.
advanced directives. They've all been placed with the
And you've talked
particular
with the family
facilities.
about them, so you're
Absolutely,
not
they're all.
surprising anybody.
One of our daughters, when she
Mhm.
moved in a new house, prepared their plans so they had a second primary suite with a shower and everything
There's
for us
Yep.
should we need it. And my daughter here is going to be empty nest syndrome in a couple months, and she's got 3 bedrooms.
So there you go.
So
You've
we're
got a
caught
lot of
there.
plans.
I've got all of her bills on autopilot. Nobody has to do anything unless she uses her Macy's, Penny's, Target, or Kohl's card. Everything else is paid automatically every month.
There you
Comes
go.
directly out of our account.
Cha-ching.
And so,
How about the thing in your wallet?
yep, I've got the thing from Riverside in my
I gotta give
wallet.
you a high 10.
I've got
You score high.
I've got all my medical records in here too,
Okay, so
because
here's
I'm the one who's had most health
you're
issues.
the one with the most health problems. Final question for you, because you're really leading the pack here at getting things. You've done great, but he's a little ahead, and I'm
I've
just
only been
saying.
planning for 20 years.
Well, you've been planning for 20 years. So who helped you kick that off, or was it just you making that choice to kick it off? I know that you did it for yourself.
It was my choice to do that. We even have all of our funeral expenses and our burial plots over in the Veterans Cemetery all set up and
Yep.
everything.
And
Everything's
you got a
planned.
backup plan of a backup plan.
Yes.
You're one of those folks. And you got a backup plan and you implemented. You got it. And you're like, I feel the need now maybe a little bit for a backup plan.
Well, I don't know if this fits with.
Mhm.
My sister wants us to move where she
Mm.
is,
Mhm.
and it's nice.
Mhm.
And I like where we are
That's
as
the
well.
heart.
I like both places. But ultimately, I have a father here who's
Mm.
99 years old.
Ooh.
I'm not moving anywhere
Yeah.
as long as we've
Yeah.
got his birthday
Got
coming up.
additional responsibilities outside the other realm.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for being so willing to share, so open with what you're going through, and so much a part of what's going to help other people get to places that otherwise they won't even realize they need to go. So thank each and every one of you for doing this. It matters.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.